doing?
How are you?
No, this guy's so smart, there won't be anything left for me to say.
What are your thoughts being back in town?
Love it. The first thing I thought of was, I think it's been a while since we've been here for a 2:30 game. So I just think the anticipation, the crowd, everybody getting here earlier, I think that just helps us. You know, it's the little things that we look at differently. I know everybody's focused on the game, but we always want the best crowd. We've had an unbelievable run of shows, you know, starting the year. I mean, going down and getting back to Tennessee, which has been a while. I know you guys don't want to hear that one. But Oklahoma was great. Penn State, obviously, to whiteout. Energy is usually not a problem, but when there's a little extra incentive and plenty of incentive knowing what this game brings, it being a rematch.
So, Steve, do you feel like it's the same trap game for Bama, just on a different field?
I just think there's a lot of different factors. I think it was just such a surprise last year, and the circumstance being kind of the same of that monster win against Georgia, us being here for that. I mean, that's an all-timer being in person for that game last year. And then, you know, you go on the road and get punched in the face the way you did. Going back and watching it, I think it only angers you more if you were involved in that game. It was right there for the take. I mean, yeah, Vandy possessed the ball, but Bama kept responding with big play after big play and scoring, and turnovers were just killers in that. And then seeing how Alabama has been so far this year, not turning the ball over, you got to feel a lot more confident. No, I mean, how crisp and organized that offense looked last week. That not many teams could say they could. I don't think many teams could do that, let alone prove it and go out and do it in that situation. So you got to feel a lot better about the situation. You know, you have their full attention, knowing what happened last year.
So with that, are you comfortable with that 10.5-point line, or is that feel appropriate?
You know, it's there's others. The one thing I keep, like, Vandy really hasn't played a 4-quarter game where Alabama's been in, you know, some monster and high-level game on the road. I believe Vandy will score. I just think Alabama will score more. If you want to pick, I would lean towards the over. Then you don't have to worry about giving points. I think there's going to be points scored, and if it does get into a big lead, you know Vandy's going to keep the foot on the gas and try and make it respectable. And Alabama, the foot's on the gas, man. Like the way they strain you sideline to sideline, this is easily the biggest test for Vanderbilt's defense, and that's why I like Alabama in that matchup with the offense and how good it's looked.
How's Vanderbilt's ability to control the ball?
I'll get you next.
Yeah, how does Vanderbilt's ability to control the ball, long possessions, as you said, kind of complicate maybe the prognostication of the game?
Well, you know, Smitty being out for the first half, knowing what Florida State looked like running the football when they had a cooking mobile quarterback. You know, where Stockton's, I mean, he can run it, but their design quarterback runs not most of it. But now going back and watching Vanderbilt this year, the pieces they've added, and I still think Alexander's a hell of a back. But the pieces they've added, Diego hasn't run it as much, you know, whereas last year he was the guy on those third downs converting. So I think the matchup is different, where Alabama has to be more cognizant of the speed that Vanderbilt's added on those edges. He's proven he's throwing the deep ball a lot better this year. So I think Vanderbilt's offense brings more to the table this year. But again, Alabama knows that.
Do you think that Johnny Football's presence here this weekend is going to add a little fuel to the fire for Alabama?
No, I don't. I'm trying to do the math. And let's say Ty Simpson, right? How old was he for Johnny's game? That was 2012, 13 years ago. There's plenty of motivation in other ways for Alabama in this game. I don't see that being a factor.
With everything that's been said about last year and Alabama taking Vanderbilt more seriously this year, what would it say about Vanderbilt if they could go win this game?
Unbelievable, man. The one thing I've said watching them this year, they are better than they were last year, but so is Alabama. And it would be, I mean, you talk about monster steps. I think I read this is the first time Vanderbilt's been ranked playing Alabama in like 57 years, like something like
1937.
Yeah. Well, that was AP. There was one where there was another poll where they were ranked. I think that was 1957. Whatever. You take steps as a program when you're trying to build it, right? And Clark did a great job. I mean, you also go back to last year, how many games they were in. I mean, Texas went there won by a field goal. There was a lot of more instances where they could have pulled off wins. But you want confidence and an opportunity when you're trying to build a program, and Vanderbilt has that. If they could pull, I mean, now you guys start talking about possibly Atlanta, playoff spot, but it would be a monumental. It would be even bigger than last year, I think, going on the road.
You spoke about matchups a minute ago. Obviously, the one going into the game would be Diego Pavia versus defense. What is one of the matchups that a lot of people maybe aren't looking at that could end up deciding this game?
I think it's Vanderbilt's secondary. They haven't seen anything like what Alabama brings to the table. And what I've really liked is what Alabama has done with their tight ends on the edge. That was a position I didn't know what we were going to get. But Edwards and Cuevas have been really, really good in setting the edge. Timely catches, a couple third down catches last week that were huge. I think that says a lot about Ty being able to spread the ball around, because he's got to have confidence in those guys. And we haven't seen a lot. I'm sure they did it in practice, which gives him the confidence, which is awesome. But it's the perimeter guys for Vanderbilt against the speed and power and ability that Alabama brings to the table, which I put in the upper tier of college football.
Ryan Williams, last year he was kind of the breakout name around this time. This year he's had a little more slow of a start. He had the big game versus Wisconsin, but he struggled with drops. What do you think is most important for him to get back on track and start to boost his production?
Early touches. I think wide receivers always like when they get involved early. And I think that's, I even go back to the first drive of the Florida State game when I was like, oh, like this Bama offense is real, And, it's part of scripted, ability to do that. And then, Florida State changes some things, and then Alabama struggles the rest of the way, but turnovers were also a part of that. But any receiver wants the ball early, and I think offensive coordinators know that, and Grubb is as good as any one of them. So I think involvement early in the way they space the ball around. But, yeah, I imagine 2 is going to be a focus.
Fans around the country probably felt like, maybe the Florida State-Miami game would have been a better spot. But ultimately, why did you guys choose to come to Tuscaloosa over that?
It's not my decision, so, we're going to put quotes and stuff like that when people like to make graphics. A big factor is the momentum with this show and what it brings. It's a different animal. And it's hard to go somewhere after a loss. And I get it. It's hot and heavy. And Tallahassee's going to be awesome. But seeing this story and what Alabama, we're going to talk, best road wins, best wins this year. Alabama at Georgia, and seeing what Georgia did at Tennessee, and that being there for that game is just impressive. And then the undefeated Commodores, man, they're a story. They're going to be here. You look at their schedule; they got plenty of opportunities to make some noise going forward. And then the idea last year, everybody lost their minds at that. We were at Cal or Oregon, I remember, and I remember being at the airport, and people just. Was that ESPN SEC Network? That wasn't even national. Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So everybody was like trying to figure out, let's get SEC Network on at the airport. But that was the story of that weekend for sure.
Was Vanderbilt and kind of their way to define history and change the past a little bit? Is that something that was compelling to you guys looking at this game?
The possibility, of course, yeah. But I just think undefeated and ranked, man. Like you watch them on tape, they're legit. And like I said, the offense is better than it was last year. And yeah, all these stories. We start getting in October now, man. They're all the good, everything's going to rise to the top, right? And Vanderbilt definitely deserves the praise it's getting.
If Alabama getting punched in the mouth last year, they got punched in the mouth week 1 against Florida State, but then they held on really well against adversity against Georgia. Just how have you seen them grow and develop in that area?
I just think it's a process. Coach Saban always talks about the process, believing in the process, and I think Bama you've seen the buy-in from Kalen. I thought his demeanor on the sidelines was awesome. Last week, after a tough 4th down stop, he's coming over, hey, defense, get it back. That defense, I thought the biggest part of that game was Alabama keeping the foot on the gas right before the half, where it's like, oh, man, like we went on 14-0, now it's going to be 17-14, no, come out, get 7 more points before. That was a huge drive. So, like, that mentality of saying, we're on the road, but we're going to be the aggressor, and then you flip it, make some adjustments on defense. Georgia had the ball a ton in the second half, but the defense came up at its biggest moment, and I just think that's a buy-in to the process of what they believe in, and that comes from the coaching staff.
From a creativity standpoint, what does Ryan Grubb, or what do you see Ryan Grubb bring to this Alabama offense in addition to what Kalen's already been able to do?
There's a bunch. I just think I've always loved his balance. about what he brings to the table as far as being an O-line guy and knowing you have to establish a run. And obviously, yes, Alabama knows they need to be better running the football, but just having the mindset of throwing the ball as many times as they did, and being as accurate as he was, and I get foot on the gas, man. Like that atmosphere and being the aggressor says a lot, and that comes from your play caller. You know, players know what they're getting from that guy, and when he steps up and puts them in those great positions, that's all you want.
Last question.
If Vanderbilt comes in here and wins, and Pavia plays well.
A lot of that question. I've gotten that 3 times already.
Do you see him becoming like a celebrity within the sport?
I think he kind of already is. I mean, the story is incredible. I mean, I was reading more this morning. I guess he was infatuated with Baker Mayfield, and he thought he could just go to Norman and walk on. And somebody was like, "You can't just go there. It's Oklahoma." And that's how he goes to JUCO. Then New Mexico State's at the JUCO championship game because they're watching the other quarterback. He beats him, and he keeps receipts on everybody. The story's incredible. I think there's already a mantra about him, and I believe he's won 14 games as an underdog, and that's tied for the most in the last 20 years. And this is the 51st straight SEC game Vanderbilt's been an underdog. So they have bought into this underdog role as good as you can.
Thanks, Steve.
All right. Thank you guys. Good luck. All right. Have fun.